Welcome to Cranfield University. My name is Toby Thompson, director of the glorious Grenville Turner Studios that we're in today. As the music of supply chain dies away, welcome again to Cranfield, your favorite university for supply chain, at least. We're going to be talking about the supply chain programs here at Cranfield. Hopefully you're interested in those. If you've joined the wrong webinar, stick around anyway. If you're watching the recording, please stick to the end because we have some amazing people on this call. We have 2 course directors and, get this, 2 students. One current student, Nipun, and we have an amazing alumnus who graduated just 2 weeks ago and is now in an amazing job. So we're going to hear from them, Manu. So worth sticking around for exactly that. We're going to be together for no more than 1 hour, and that'll be dependent upon the questions that you have. If you have questions, please put them into the Zoom text chat. We know you know how to do that. We're not going to be opening audio channels, just text questions today, pretty much at any time. We're not going to leave it to the end for Q&A. It can be at any time on the information that you think you need to get yourselves here to Cranfield as soon as possible. Congratulations, basically. I think nearly everyone watching the recording or on the live session is an offer holder, so well done. You've got an offer from Cranfield. We want to convert that to make you come here. We know you've done your homework on what Cranfield offers and that you have options. But before we go any further, let's just remind ourselves what an amazing place Cranfield University is. Makes me proud every time I see that, to be working at a university that does all of those things. Quite astonishing. Maybe you weren't aware that some of the activities that we get involved in are involved on this very same campus that we're hoping to see you on very shortly. So I'm going to be joined now in the studio by friend and colleague Hendrik. We were joking before we came on air about how we pronounce certain things, including the word penguin.
Including the word penguin. We managed it.
We managed it. Hendrik is one of the course directors, that's fair to say. So you got a chance to ask Hendrik pretty much any question. Is that right? Any difficult question about the course?
This is what this particular session is all about, asking questions. We're keeping it light on the slides today. We've done multiple webinars explaining the course structure, explaining the modules, explaining what it's all about.
Today, you guys know that already.
Yeah, you know that already. So today is about a couple of highlights and then questions and meeting our students, current students, former students, and of course our Deputy Director Lorenzo as well.
Let's do that right now. We got a chance to go straight to Lorenzo. Lorenzo's joining us physically in the studio, and we have the 2 students that I mentioned who are joining us remotely. Look at that. Lorenzo, give us a wave just to prove that you're real. Hey, look at that, a real wave. Tell us, just Lorenzo, before we go to the students, tell us what you do, your job title.
Oh, I'm the Deputy Course Director for the Logistics and Supply Chain Management MSc.
Fantastic.
I'm very happy to work with Hendrik at this great university.
You wouldn't know that these guys are colleagues. Hendrik, is that your name? Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. And Nipun, tell us about yourself. Just wave, just prove that you are real. And you're not an AI bot.
So, hi, I'm Nipun Goyal. I'm currently doing Masters in Logistics and Supply Chain from Cranfield University. Previously, I have around 10 years of work in the domain of supply chain. Then I chose Cranfield because of its well-renowned supply chain program. So I'm currently doing that and enjoying it a lot. Thank you.
Fantastic. Hear that, enjoying the course. So that'll be a lesson to you. And the amazing Manu. Manu, I'll build you up. I've bigged you up so far, but tell us about yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Manu Mangal. I am currently working as a category manager in Northern Marine Group in Glasgow. If I pronounced that correctly.
I think you did.
And yeah, it was an exciting time actually in Cranfield. So I have just graduated 2 weeks before. I was here at Cranfield, enjoyed my bit. So yeah, it has been a fun ride. And the course is amazing, as everyone knows. So yeah, happy to take your questions and help you out in whichever capacity.
Wow, our job here is done. Did you hear that? Get yourselves here because you got an amazing course and you're interesting gentlemen. 2 weeks ago, Manu graduated and now is in a fantastic position. So if you've got any questions as to how he's done that and how Nippon intends to do exactly that, please type them into the text chat because we can talk a little bit more about exactly that. And I've just seen Pavan. How are you? Pavan's already asking
questions.
How are the modules individually going to be assessed? And how many group projects are there? Let's just go for that straight
Or should we
away.
go straight for that?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, there's going to be core modules and electives. Like we have a wide range of elective modules that people can choose from freely.
Across both programs?
Across both programs.
Right.
So they're open to the procurement side as well as the logistics side. Now, some of the electives are more leaning towards procurement or more leaning towards logistics, whereas many of them are supply chain management in general. Okay, so applicable across the board. Now, how are they going to be assessed? So the vast majority of the core modules has individual assessments, so they're individual reports, written reports. Some of them do carry a group component, but for the vast majority, the individual assessments. The electives are a little bit varied. Again, a mix. Some of them are individual, some of them are group. It's all outlined on the website, and generally how the assessment is chosen or decided, it has to fit with the teaching style and the learning that we try to bring across within a module. For example, we have a core module on project management. Okay, so project management is about managing a group of people towards a common goal within the project. So hence, it makes sense that you have a group component in the assessment, doesn't it? Right, so hence there's a mix of both. Hopefully that answers the question. But yeah, check it out on the website. It's all outlined there.
Pavan, thank you so much for your opening question. That's got to be the first question that we've had quite so soon. So please keep those questions coming. Pavan, if that wasn't clear, please put a supplementary question on there and we'll come back to that too. It's worth kicking off, I think, first of all, before we go into a little bit more detail, why should people be studying supply chain at Cranfield?
Well, let's skip the Cranfield part for the time being.
Okay.
Let's just say, why should people study supply chain management, whether it's logistics and supply chain or the procurement and supply chain management? Supply chain, in my humble opinion, not just because I teach it.
Yeah, you're biased.
Of course I'm biased. I mean,
You've got a background in that.
my background is operations and supply chain
Right.
management. So I'm a little bit on the internal logistics, internal operations within a company, and then I branched out into supply
So
chain.
Manu's area, similar sort of thing.
Well, he is on the procurement side. He's a category manager, right? So anyhow, we'll hear more from Manu. But what makes supply chain management so interesting is a couple of things. So first of all, it's a wide field of subjects that are basically have this umbrella term supply chain management above it, right? I mean, we're talking about so many different small subjects, if you will, everything from procurement, sourcing, supplier management, to operations, internal, external operations, transport, the whole logistics chain. You have warehousing, inventory management, you have last mile delivery to the customer, you have service components, after sales service, which are all part of what we commonly understand as supply chain management. So it's a wide area and hence also a lot of opportunities where you actually want to get involved in, right, going forward. And now now come back to the Cranfield
my original
part.
question.
Why do I believe, or why do we all believe Cranfield is a great place to study supply chain management? There's of course the history of Cranfield. We have a long history in supply chain management. I mean, the MSc in logistics and supply chain management has been run for about 40 years.
Wow.
Right, so it's a long history, but of course what we are emphasizing is an up-to-date curriculum. So we go really in detail, and I think our current students and also our former students can probably reflect on that. We go in detail on every part of supply chain management. So what you generally see in other MScs maybe is there's emphasis on the high-level subject areas like supply chain strategy maybe and maybe transport. But we go into detail into everything. For example, we have a dedicated module on warehousing, which I teach.
Whoa.
Okay, right? And this is where we only talk, essentially, about what happens in a warehouse, equipment types, processes in a warehouse, and how does it connect to the other parts
Pavan's interested in that.
of the supply chain.
Is there a warehouse visit?
Yes, we do warehouse visits.
Yay.
Actually, like it's coming up in the slides. You see
We do have some
a bit.
slides.
Yeah, so we just did warehouse visits actually as part of our study tours. Okay, so we went to, well, we combine essentially, we go away for a week, roughly a week, 4 days, to a different location within the UK. We visit companies on the way and within that location, and among other things, of course, warehouses.
Brilliant. We're going to come to that study
Yes,
tour in a
yes.
second. So Pavan, stick around because your thing is coming right up. Another question, or do you want to go into the slides? You gotta,
Well, just one thing. We can have a
on.
question. Just last thing about why Cranfield. I talk about the modules and like what we teach, but it's only half the story. It's also being part of this community here, being part of the current cohort, becoming part of the whole alumni group. It all comes together. Like you basically become a part of like-minded individuals who are interested in this subject area and that you can engage with going forward, like going away from Cranfield, hopefully into a great position, but you stay part of that group.
You've got friends on this call that you don't know you've got yet. So your new best friends are with you as we speak. I love saying that because it's true. One quick question then.
Yes, yes.
Okay. What are the departmental career events that are organized and when are they organized for? So presumably there's careers is integral to what it is that we're talking about for the course.
Of course. So we do have a dedicated careers team at Cranfield, or in the School of Management, actually. And they are organizing career events throughout the year. So there's some, they're sort of within the different terms. And of course, as part of that, there are companies who are showcasing what they do.
They come to visit Cranfield?
They come to visit, yeah. They come to visit here. It's usually, they have a stand, kind of like a little, like a fair, if you will. Like not a conference, more like a fair,
yeah,
right? So
I
they
can
come,
see it. I can see it.
and then
Milk
you
rounds.
you can start your engagement with companies there who are actually here physically, but then there's also companies who won't be coming here physically, but you can connect them through the careers service that the School of Management offers.
Brilliant.
And it's just a matter of actually engaging with it. The colleagues there are very welcoming, very helpful, and then it's on to you, whoever asked the question.
As Pavan again.
Pavan again, to reach out and see what's available and what connections can be made.
I think you as well, but I'm also keen to hear from Nipun at some point as well, maybe a bit later on after you've done some slides, as to how that career thing dovetails into pretty much everything that you do. Almost day one, you're going to be talking to the careers people. So we have that in mind, as I'm sure you do too. Give us a bit of an overview then, because you've got some slides. Tell us, you mentioned study tours and simulations also came up, and playing games. So tell us more about the exciting program.
Yeah, I mean, should we go through the slides?
Please, please.
All right. So again, welcome everyone to our offer holder webinar. As I said, I'll keep the slides on the
brief side.
On the brief
Yay.
side, we only do the sort of some highlights. What have we seen over the last few weeks? What have we done with our current cohort? And sort of reflecting a little bit about former students, where have they gone? So this is basically what these slides are about. But go back to one of the older webinar recordings, which are available if you want more details on the course and the modules in particular. So reflecting first on our alumni community, I already mentioned it. So 20-something thousand graduate alumni that you see here. But for us, of course, it's very important that we remember that there is a vast number of supply chain management alumni. As I said, this module or this program has been running for 40 years. And among other things, people come back and they like to share their career success or their learnings that they have gained throughout the career. For example, this year, Toby, we had someone teaching a session for us on depot management.
Depot management.
Yeah, like different depots, like how you, for example, a network, like a logistics network in the UK would consist of multiple depots distributed across the country.
Yeah.
And he managed those depots essentially.
So he's not an academic, he's someone who actually
No.
does the job.
He graduated Cranfield in 1986.
86.
And
Goodness me.
joined us this year, gave a 2-hour session
Wow.
on his learnings. He wrote a book about it, you know,
Wow.
which we also distributed.
If you're into depots, you need to read the book.
Yeah.
We'll find out who that is. That's amazing.
Yeah, so it's great stuff. Just that we can rely on,
Yes,
of course,
yeah.
that we have this great background. Then also ask me my first engagement with Cranfield.
What was your first engagement with Cranfield?
Great question. Toby.
That wasn't prompted at all.
Yeah, it's actually, I mean, I did my my master's and my PhD in New Zealand,
Yes.
as you know,
Yes.
and I met alumni from Cranfield there
In New Zealand.
that I actually worked with on projects in New Zealand. So one of them was from a major consultancy company. He was the head of supply chain for that major consultancy in the New Zealand office. And the other one was the head of supply chain for, it's a dairy company, or it's a dairy, yeah, it's a conglomerate,
Right.
okay, which
New
is
Zealand
actually
conglomerate.
in New Zealand, exactly, and it's the largest New Zealand company actually. And
Wow.
he was the head of supply chain at the time. So this is how I first came across
The
Cranfield.
word Cranfield.
No,
What's Cranfield?
I had heard of Cranfield before.
Oh, I see.
But like, you know, some actual engagement
Yeah.
with people from there was through alumni from.
That's going to be you guys.
time
You're
ago,
going to
yeah.
you're going to be out there in whichever country, and you're going to be saying, "Yeah, I did my thing at Cranfield." Like, where's that? And you're going to tell them what about.
Well, it's just how it happened. I mean, it's not a lie, right? Like,
It's just great. It's a
it's
fantastic
a true
story.
story, yeah. And then, you know, some years later, I applied here, and I went here myself. So
This is an interesting guy. You've got to get to study with this gentleman here.
So yeah, so it is what it says here on the slide, essentially, lifelong network, lifelong connections, and of course from all around the world, really. You can see some of our recent graduates here. I mean, I say recent, so some of them are from 2017, 2020. Of course, we're extremely proud that our alumni have done very well. You can see them here. They came from different parts in the world, and you can see what they have achieved since. So, for example, Ye Bai Ning being a senior consultant at Deloitte, Olomide working at Vodafone, now another category manager, maybe like Manu. He can, you know, we have some connections here, of course. So he did the procurement and supply chain management MSc, which started in 2016. So he would be one of our very early graduates. Hannah working at Siemens, of course, you know, one of the largest international companies in the world, really, and Hassan here working as a compliance program management. So great success stories, and these are just a few, of course, and hopefully when you join us, you will be able, of course, then to go into similar paths, right? Step into similar footsteps, and in a few years' time, we may be reflecting on your success. All right.
Enough of that. Tell us about study tours.
Tell us about study
Yay!
tours. Yes. So, as I said, just some of the interesting, funny events that we've done over the last, well, few months now. So the study tours took place this year in April, over 2 weeks. And we visit different destinations across the UK. You can see them on the right-hand side. So this year we actually went to Liverpool, Manchester, Bristol, and Cardiff. In previous years we've also been to Southampton, and we've also been to Birmingham. But yeah, so this year we went to those locations. And as I said, we essentially go for 3 to 4 days. We try, or what we want to achieve is get some first-hand experience of supply chain strategies, supply chain practices, operations, see some actual facilities, like maybe a depot, maybe a warehouse, a distribution center, a production site. Any of these things are ultimately applicable. Now, don't take my word for it. You can go onto the student blog, which is on our MSc course pages on both the logistics and the procurement, and see what other students have said about these study tours. We are updating them as we go along now from this year as well. So hopefully in a few days, weeks, you will also see some of the most current blogs up there regarding the study tours that we just did. Well, what is it now? 2 months ago, 2-3 months ago. And we can, of course, ask Nipun and Manu
We're going to.
about their study tour experiences as well. Few more impressions here. You can see, I mean, it looks like fun with the motorcycle there.
Yeah, what's going on there?
That was actually at
Silverstone.
Silverstone.
Yeah.
That's right. So what we do in the study tours, of course, is it's a bit of a mix, okay? Because we want to see actual practices, actual companies, but we're also having a little bit of social activities, right? So we go for dinners, for example. We go and see some cultural sites, something more cultural, right?
Is this all included in the price? This is not extra then? This is all part of the course?
This is part of the course, yes.
Right, you haven't got to pay anything extra, it's all part of it?
There's a small contribution. And when I mean small, it is actually small.
Right.
Okay, so towards the study tour, but we cover the bulk of the expenses. And of course, the main thing is just the organization, right? Like it's basically we are almost running like a little travel agency, if you will, because if we go with 100+ people onto a study tour and you want to visit all these different companies, you gotta align all those visits quite closely.
Yes.
So it's not a trivial exercise. And so, yeah, apart from actually seeing hands-on supply chain practices, we also emphasize the social, cultural side, and of course, if you study here in the UK, you might just as well see some interesting cities and some of the cultural heritage within those locations.
There's a question kind of related,
yes.
And again, this is Pavan. Coursework, so is that clustered into one part of the course, or is that throughout? There could be an assignment associated with the warehouse tour, conceivably. So those are spread throughout the whole program?
It is spread across the whole program, yeah. I mean, the coursework is, of course, associated with the different modules.
Right.
Okay, but the different modules include different types of coursework. So, for example, I mean, just reflecting on my modules that I teach, we do in the warehousing, and probably some of the former students can reflect on this. Manu and Nipun currently can reflect on this as well. We do, for example, an exercise over several weeks, a group exercise that requires us to design a distribution center, design a warehouse ourselves. Okay, so we go through several weeks of teaching essentially, right? Then we know the essentials. We know the building blocks, the processes of a warehouse. But then we are all about actually doing something with that knowledge, right? So hence we have this really detailed case study that I've been developing. Actually, this year was a brand new one. So maybe Nipun can tell us what he thought about that one. And that's where we put some of this theory into action, right? And actually, for example, design a warehouse in a group and then present it at the end.
Wow.
Okay, so there's some of the coursework. Now, this is a non-assessed part, okay? So, but it's of course a requirement that you actually complete this, because otherwise you don't get the learning and you don't really fully grasp all the ideas, right? So this is all part of the program, and then you have an assessment afterwards. Similarly, one of my modules that I teach is the circular supply chain module, which includes a simulation.
A game.
It's a game. It's an educational game, right? So it is fun,
yeah,
right? But it has a strong educational note to it, because what you try and achieve in the simulation is to turn it from a standard supply chain into a circular supply chain. So reusing your material, recycling your material, remanufacturing the material to essentially reduce the virgin material, the new material that you are putting into your products.
So you get to think about something. What if I did this?
Yes.
You apply it on the game, let's call it a game, and then there's an immediate response. And that did or didn't work, and then you go back and do it again.
So you do several iterations of it. You have different aspects that you can control, right? And then you always see the results in the simulation, and then you can redo it.
That sounds
now,
good.
This one is, again, a core part of the module. It's part of the coursework. I think I'm answering the question here.
You are.
And then this simulation, though, it continues into the assessment, which is a group assessment, where you then need to reflect on this further. Okay, so it's all sort of integrated, if you will.
There's 100 questions coming in, so we're going to come to some of those. But perhaps, I know you're going to be talking about the final presentations at some point, but maybe Lorenzo, we can bring in Lorenzo, who can talk a little bit more about that. Lorenzo, is that possible that you can say a little bit more about what it is that you do the course and something that Hendrik's already said, how it's structured and when you hear about some of the assignments?
Oh, sure. Like, for example, like, thanks, by the way, for the question. Concerning the module that I was teaching this year, that was accounting and finance for supply chains, we also had a simulation that's called the Fresh Connection, where actually the students play in teams and they need to like collaborate and cooperate to like achieve good supply chain performance, understanding the trade-offs, because sometimes like the different roles, you can be the purchasing manager or the operations manager or the sales manager, and like through this real life game, the students can like first-hand experience how like collaboration is necessary. So how sometimes the best decision for one business function is not the best for another. So they need to like to actually work together to achieve the best performance. And this is an integral part of the assessment. So the idea is to actually let the students to reflect on what they could have done firsthand, to then ask them, okay, according to what you did, what do you think could be like the interpretation? What do you think worked well? What could have done differently? And how did you work together, well or not, with your teammates? So this kind of like assessment, of course, is based, like simplifies like students' life because it's based on real life experience. On the other hand, it makes like the assessment more interactive, which we also think is a good thing, like in order to make like the experience more like interesting for the students themselves. So this is just like the example from my module. Then like I don't know, Hendrik, is it already time to discuss the thesis project or maybe too late?
No, we'll come to it. And of course, it's interesting what Lorenzo said because he then links it to, because it's part of his accounting and finance module, right? So the simulation again is, it requires the students to also then interpret the financial data, right? Which then links to the theory that Lorenzo would have taught before.
What if you don't have a finance background? Some people here may never even touch that.
Most people don't have a full supply chain background,
Generally.
right? That's the thing. I mean, including myself. I mean, as I said, I come from like sort of operations and supply chain, so I don't necessarily have a finance background, and that's absolutely fine because we start with the fundamental building blocks, right, and then make our way through the module towards the more advanced content, right? So it's absolutely fine if you don't have a strong background in accounting and finance yet. Of course, it always helps, right? But you know, we have current students and former students. They come from a huge variety of backgrounds, including engineering, including of course transport and logistics or procurement. But as I said, sort of engineering. Some people studied languages before, and now they maybe after a few years of working, they found themselves in a procurement-related role, and then decide, I actually want some proper education in this area,
Right.
and then they decide to join us here at
So the audience here could be really made up of any background, any and every background. You just
I'm pretty sure it is. I mean, I do see the applications, and I know that they have very varied backgrounds. But as I said, because supply chain management as a field is already quite, it's a wide net of different activities, right? And we cover them in great detail. And the main thing is just to be interested and excited about the content. And we're not giving away anything for free here, right? Like it's, you have to put the hard work in.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to sit down, learn the material, listen to the professors, do the assessments, do the group coursework, all these things.
And have fun in the evenings and the weekends.
Well, I would argue you have fun whilst doing the modules.
Right.
Right. So I mean,
response.
maybe some of our students can tell us whether they had fun doing, for example, the warehousing design exercise.
Can we do that? Can we do that now? Can we go to Nippon? Nippon, can I ask you that very same question, the warehousing, because it's come up from Pavan's question. How was that for you?
Yeah, so that was definitely a very interesting assignment. So what we have to do, first of all, Henrik gave us a full insight about how the warehouse works in the form of presentation, in the form of videos, what kind of equipments that you can use, whether it's manual or automatic equipments. Based on that, we had a case study, and we have to completely design a old warehouse in which we have some part of warehouse was there. We have new space, so you can, based on your acquired knowledge from the subject, you have to design a new warehouse and present it to the team as well as the warehouse expert, which is Henrik, as well as there's one more person, Ismail. So he is also very subject matter expert in warehouse. So it was all in all a very good experience.
That's good to hear. I want to ask Manu about stuff.
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead. Yes.
Manu, tell us about that dissertation experience. How was that? It sounds quite scary, but what was it like?
Um, as a matter of fact, Henrik was my thesis supervisor during my
Coincidence.
thesis period. Coincidence, but I think was a very fine and fun time of my life, like before coming to Cranfield, because according to our academic culture that I have been used to, thesis has never been a part of a study pattern. So I was really reluctant. I mean, that was first thought of my line, like when I was about to come to Cranfield, that how would I be able to complete my thesis? But it's just about putting the right foot forward and actually getting stuck onto it and having that correct mindset that anything is possible. And to be honest, I had a company thesis with AP Moeller Maersk Line, so it is an added pressure because you don't have to just perform for yourself, but you're also representing the university. The benchmarks that you basically set today are going forward for your future people who are coming within the university. So it was a tough time, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, learned a lot, and I'm pretty confident that for the coming 5 to 10 years, if someone would come to me asking for suggestions for dissertation, I would be really keen and engaging, would be
Fantastic.
really able to help them.
That's fantastic. That's a fantastic offer. Take Manu
Yeah,
up on that.
we'll take you up on that. But it is, of course, one of the aspects again, which then leads back to our alumni network, right? Of course,
Yep.
For example, Manu mentioned that we have company-based thesis projects. Not everyone is interested in one, but a large part of the student community, of course, would be interested in
Who
working
chooses those? Is it the companies come to you?
Well, actually, we should ask our expert how it works, Lorenzo, who is very much managing the company-led projects. Okay, so probably best to hear from Lorenzo how he does it, and then actually how the students get assigned to the company and vice versa.
Lorenzo, go ahead.
Oh, thanks. Well, first, we need to somehow engage with these companies. I mean that we need to show them the value connected to actually having a student working for your company and helping you to solve a real business problem. So that's the starting point. We like to talk to companies and we ask them, do you have any business problem that you think could be solved within 4 months by an MSc student? This is the premise. If they say yes, then we start working together with them to shape and craft a project which actually could be doable within 4 months and which could be connected to the current practice and what we actually teach in our supply chain management program. Then once this proposal is finalized, which of course sometimes is very straightforward, other times takes a lot of effort, then once this is ready, we share with our careers teams, and then these proposals are advertised to the students. Then what happens is what's like a recruitment process. So students can apply, submitting their CV, showing their interest for the proposal, and then the companies are actually allowed to screen the CVs and decide which candidates to interview to then offer the position. So it's very similar to a recruitment process, which also is a good practice for the future life, because then we know that once graduating, getting a job is a very important goal for any student, and this simulated experience could also make students understand which skills they need to emphasize, how they should believe in a recruitment process, and what opportunities they should focus on to maximize their success chances. So overall, it's a very structured process. In some cases, projects are quite confidential, so we need to sign an NDA, which is involving and protecting the company, the student, and the university. And then usually in late April, the project is starting, and then for the next 4 months, like the students are like giving all their energies to complete both the project for the company and then writing their thesis. And I think that Nipun could probably like provide some experiences, and Manu as well from last year.
Nipun, can we hear from your experiences on that exact point?
Well, Nipun is in the middle at the moment.
In the middle, you're in the middle of it.
So yeah, I'm just doing similarly a company-based project. It's with the defense aerospace industry. It's quite challenging, I would say, and as well as you have a very good experience. More of like when you're working with a company, it's like an internship kind of a thing. Addition to that, like you're working with a company as well as you are doing your academic thesis. So it's quite demanding as well as very comprehensive. So my suggestion would be it's like 4 months. We don't have any classes in that particular time. So manage your time accordingly and don't take it lightly because it's a very 80 it has like very big credit 80 credits, which is like 40% of the course is related to your company thesis. So this is a very important part, and it will give you a further exposure if you're doing a company based project. And similarly, if you're doing any like desk based systematic literature review project, that also has a similar importance because you're doing research in your own research in that case. So both the projects has their own benefits, but it is very important in your whole course, and I'll say it has to be given a very good importance in the academics as well.
Nipun, thank you very much. Whilst we're talking about this, let's go to presentations if we can, because there's the sound like the students are expected to make some sort of presentation to the rest of the group around something they found out about. Tell us more about that.
Yes, we have a thesis presentation day. Can we maybe just quickly go to the slides?
Yeah, we've got a slide on that.
Got a slide on this. There we have. So we only show the fun bits here, the final presentation celebration, as we called it. But essentially, this is after a morning of presentations where every single student in the current cohort presented their thesis project, presented their objectives, the aim, how it's progressing and what the next steps are. And essentially, we try and learn from each other in this experience, right? So we try and go, that you can see, okay, the other students in the cohort are maybe facing similar problems. Maybe they have, well, challenges, or maybe they have already some successes to share. You know, how did they solve certain aspects? So we can learn from each other. We see what everybody else is up to, right? We also identify, of course, projects that are behind time, for example. So that was just, don't let me lie, this was about 2 weeks ago, this final presentation day that we did, a whole day essentially. And then in the afternoon, we organized some lunch and drinks and ice cream and had a little bit of fun as well, just showing, or just getting together as a group. We have another picture here. This was the whole group from this year. I mean, so this was taken just 2-3 weeks ago when we had the final presentation day. And yeah, it's probably almost everyone in the picture from this year. So it's great. It's great that we got everyone together here. You can also see Farouk on the very right-hand side, who is the deputy director for the procurement side, for the procurement MSc. So we have 2 deputy directors and 1 overall program director for these programs. Brilliant. Okay. Should I finish the
there's a ton of questions, and I'm really keen to get to the questions because that's really why we're here. And Lorenzo, I guess I got a question for you. And this one, there's quite a few chat questions around electives. What are they? But maybe, I guess they might change. How do you choose them? When do you choose them? Tell us more about electives.
Okay, well, we have a lot of electives, which I think is one of the unique selling point of our program compared to others. Actually, we are very specialized, and our electives allows, like, say, students to customize the interest and knowledge into a specific field. Because while the core modules are meant to create a common background, then through the electives, students can really customize and follow their individual aspirations and individual interests, which could be driven by either personal interest or the idea that some skills might be required to apply for future jobs. For example, if someone is really keen to working into digital procurement or understanding more about big data analytics, then we have an elective for big data analytics, or we have a very popular elective about humanitarian logistics, which is quite unique for supply chain management programs in the UK and worldwide. So students can start deciding about their electives, let's say after 1 month that they started their life at Cranfield, so normally in October. They have some time, so we allow some leeway in order to make them change their mind according to whether they change from logistics to procurement or vice versa, and they have to provide 4 preferences. We understand that asking like in October might be considered quite early, but we need it for planning purposes, and planning, as any student will learn when studying supply chain management, is a very, very critical construct for successful supply chain management. So once we know what students might like, then we start arranging the rooms, and so like the offer is very heterogeneous and is meant to like allow the students to customize their journey at Cranfield according to what they really like. So personally, I think that it's a great choice, because when I was a student, I didn't have that like freedom to decide even 4 pieces of my individual puzzle for my individual MSc journey.
Wow.
Yeah.
Say more about electives?
Yes, I mean, the great thing, and Lorenzo already said it, is 2 aspects that he mentioned quite quickly. Is of course that students do not have to make a final decision whether they want to be in the logistics and supply chain management program or the procurement and supply chain management program. So within term 1, we actually allow people to transfer from one program to the other. Okay, which is great because
you got some time to think about it.
You got some time to think about it, and most importantly, you get some initial flavors of these different subject areas. For example, we start with our core module on procurement, right? And we start with our core modules on freight transport, for example, and supply chain strategy and so forth. So you get to know these modules, you get to talk to the module leaders, the program directors, and then you can make an informed decision on which side you want to be. There's no bad decision, right? It's just you can make up your mind then. And the same with the electives, because students from varied backgrounds, of course, they would struggle to decide immediately those are the electives that I want to take. It would make our life a lot easier, you know, if we knew it from day one. But we say no, we postpone these decisions to a later stage within term 1, so that students can familiarize themselves with the electives, can make an informed decision what they want to take. And then of course there's a great range of electives that we offer every year, really from all across supply chain management, you know, anything from, let's say, as Lorenzo said, big data analytics, future of digital procurement, circular supply chain we already mentioned, sales and operations planning, various others, and you mentioned the humanitarian logistics one, which is a very specialized elective, and I'm very proud that we can offer this. I used to teach it. I no longer teach it now. It's a good colleague, Ismail, has taken it over. But for example, for this program, we get input from the United Nations World Food Program. Nice. We bring in an external person in, multiple guest speakers from various different charitable organizations, major government-backed organizations in the humanitarian field. And yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for someone who is interested in this. I don't think anyone else would even offer this. So,
wow.
Yeah.
There's a question, and please keep your questions coming if you've joined halfway through. This is an interactive session, it's your session. Zhao is asking, in terms of content, is there anything on AI and adapting AI to the new supply chain management era?
Yes, we have. It's an interesting one because we have, of course, modules that reflect on, let's say, information systems and very much computer-generated input and knowledge, right? So, for example, we have our elective on big data analytics. We have a module, a core module that reflects on all these different technologies. And so, yes, we do, but what we have to achieve is, of course, we have to cover the old stuff, like, you know, what was maybe, you know, what is still being used these days, because I mean, we still have very standard information systems that we need to be familiar with. We need to be familiar with the standards, and then we also cover for example, these AI content as part of these modules. But what I would also like to point out is the thesis projects that we just talked about. Those are, of course, a great opportunity to study a subject area in depth that you're really interested in. Okay, so if someone, for example, says they want something to do with AI in supply chain management, students can actually create their own. They can create their own. We call it a student-led project. So the student then would need to put a proposal out. We review it, whether it's a feasible topic, but they can create their own topic. And just a little side note on that: a few years ago, we had a student from, well, she was from Scotland, had worked in Australia, okay, in consulting, and she was really interested in blockchain technology. Okay, so she came up with her own student-led MSc project on blockchain technology, which was like the thing that everybody talked about at the time a couple of years ago. And then she joined a consultancy company and became the head of like the blockchain group. So, I mean, there are
That's a nice example.
It's a nice story, right? There's a nice, and it's
that could be you. That could be you doing that, finding something here that you love and then taking it to that degree. If I can, I want to come back to some of the thousands of questions that we have here. And I guess this is one really to the students, to Nipun and to Manu. Tell us about, if you can, Nipun, the mix of students on your cohort. Are we talking every country in the world is represented there? Say more.
So yeah, we have quite a good mix of students. You'll find the people from China, the Taiwan. I have very good friends from Taiwan, and then the people from Europe, Spain, and France. And this time we didn't have like students from US, but last year we had students from US as well. So you get a good mix of students and good exposure in terms of the nationalities in the course.
Okay, thank you. And Manu, I'm going to come to you for this one, and bear with it on this one. I think you might be able to answer it. This is Divyen. Having 4 years of work experience in Manhattan WMS application, are there any specific skills that I can learn before joining Cranfield? So Manu, what should people be doing now? Should they be learning all about supply chain management, or just take it easy and just see what's coming? What did you do?
I mean, to be honest, it really depends upon your previous background. I mean, I had a bit of supply chain experience before coming over here, but not as in-depth as the course is, because the course is pretty in-depth and basically covers all the core modules, all the core concepts that are within the supply chain management and procurement field. So what I would suggest is that before coming over here, like as soon as you're selected, do your homework. Basically do a gap analysis on your knowledge, on basically what you have at this moment, what do you know, and look at the course structure, know why you are basically coming to Cranfield. And once you do that kind of analysis, try to find online courses. There's a ton of online courses that are there on supply chain management. Just to give you a brief flavor, obviously you're coming to Cranfield to learn this in much more depth, but just to have a basic idea of what you're going into before coming to Cranfield would really help. I would really also suggest to look at the industry certifications that most of the companies really ask for, such as Six Sigma, project management. Like I did blockchain as well, as Henrik said, because I was really keen in learning about blockchain as well, because certifications do also form a major part of your selection process when you're applying to companies, because there will be 10 candidates who would have applied to the same job, but then there should be something that sets you apart from the others, and these certifications really play a big part as like in the whole selection process. So yeah, that would be my advice.
Manu, thank you so much. We have a bunch of accommodation questions and queries, and we have John. John, it's good to have you in the chat. So if you followed the chat, John is going to answer some of those already. And also we're joined by Mohammed as well, talking about visas. So if you have any of those, please get in touch and follow the comments that you've got there. Can I ask, Hendrik, internship opportunities, especially for international students, is that an option?
Yes, I mean, people that have done internships, of course, within the year of the MSc, it's a full-time program. So I would not advise anyone to take up a full-time internship somewhere else and then
you can't
go do the modules here at Cranfield. You can't do that. It's a full-time program. There's basically something is happening almost every single day, right? Especially in term one, which is going to be very full. So there's time management is essential in term one anyway. And I think Nipun and Manu they're nodding. So yes, so especially term one is quite, I wouldn't say it's overwhelming, but it presents its challenges with the amount of tasks and just time that you need to put into the MSc itself. So that definitely doesn't lend itself to an internship. Now, what some students have done quite well in the past, they actually obtained a internship opportunity somewhere, and we managed to run the MSc thesis project around it.
Oh, that's good.
All right, so somebody, for example, they did an internship with a major, a couple of years ago, with a major sportswear company. There's only a couple that come to mind,
You're
right?
trying not to mention the name. Yes.
Yes, I don't want to advertise anyone here, but so he was, and he did that in sort of mainland Europe. So he got this internship opportunity with them himself. And then we negotiated, well, okay, how can we fit the MSc thesis project essentially into this? Like, how can you work on the project itself? Because when you do an internship, of course, you need to have enough time then to still do your writing, do your research, do, you know, because it's still an academic piece of work that you
know
have
how
to
this
submit,
works,
right? And then, of course, in addition, Nipun mentioned it, and Manu, they both did company projects. Now, these company projects, they're not internships as such. Like, you're not necessarily going to the office there every day and working on other tasks. They are quite, they're more like a, well, research/consulting project, if you will, right? So be looking at a particular problem, issue, challenge, knowledge gap, whatever it may be that the company has, and then you as the researcher you would have to work on this company-led thesis project. So it is working with a company, but it's not like a internship that you go through different departments or anything like that. I mean, as I say, some students, you know, they have organized some themselves, which is absolutely fine, and we can work around it. So there are some opportunities, but it's not necessarily a general requirement that people have to do an internship.
Brilliant. Zhao, I got a question, and this is concerning, I think, Nipun and Manu, we were talking to. Graduation and jobs thereafter. Nipun, can I ask you about your engagement with the careers team here and how it's going and what you expect to do once you graduate?
So yeah, the career team here is very helpful. So once you come here, so I would suggest to start working on your CV. So make a rough draft of your CV. We have a very good software called VMock. Upload it in the VMock and check how your score is there, and then have like frequent appointments with the career team. They will help you to refine your CV according to your skills, and then once you are done with your CV, then if you want to have a company-based project, the cover letter is also very important. If you want to apply for either internships or say the company-based project, or after graduation if you want to apply for jobs, UK has a very this particular thing also, which is like writing a cover letter for the company. So the career team will also help you to refine your cover letter. And so I have like frequent appointments, like once every month before that, like in my classes. So that really helped me to polish my CV and the cover letter, which helped me to get a good company-based project. Now, after my graduation, I also want before coming to Cranfield, I had experience in category management. So again, now I want to move to the supply chain category management. So that is where I want to go further as a more of a leadership role, because I already have a good experience in that. So I'm working with the careers team to refine my skills according to that particular domain which I want to work in the future.
Wow, and talking to category managers, Manu, when did you get that role that you're in now? How soon into the program?
Yeah, so I just turn first a notch up what Nipun said is that about the VMock software, that is a pretty good and pretty nice software. So what I would suggest is that as soon as you have a confirmed seat in Cranfield, VMOC is basically accessible to you. So I personally had a confirmed seat in April or May, something like that. So I basically asked to the team to give me access between June mid or something like that. So what I would suggest is that have a look around the different kind of formats, because the format used in the UK is totally different for the CV in the other parts of the world. So have a look around, search over the internet, and try to format your CV basically according to those standards, and try to use VMOC well in advance before coming to the UK. That would really help. And secondly, coming to your question for the category management, so I graduated, so I was really focused on my thesis because I really wanted to deliver and do something that I was really proud of. So I considered that as a very long life learning, my thesis project. So I really did not apply too much. And was not that much heavy towards my job finding opportunities during my thesis period. I basically started to work upon my applications from September onwards, and I basically secured a job in December and started with this company in January as a category manager in the purchasing department. So basically I've transitioned. So all my experience before was in basically operations. So I was really able to transition to a more strategic role, not only because of the masters that I have, because of value that the company saw in me, because of the knowledge, the thesis, the other projects that I undertook during my thesis period as well as during my course. So I mean, yeah, that is my suggestion again, and this is something that I learned during these phases. So do a proper time management between your thesis. Do not start to apply from February or January onwards, because you won't get that much of return on your applications because you're still halfway throughout your thesis, your course. The correct time, according to me, is somewhere around June. July is the best time. Like, this is the best time to start to make your applications, because in the UK it takes around 1 to 2 months to actually, from the day you make your application till you get selected, it's around 1 to 2 months turnaround time. And that would basically take you closer to your graduation period, and then you can negotiate the terms and contracts with the company basically on a starting date. So yeah,
You
that
make
would
it
be my
sound
suggestion
very
and
you
learnings.
make it sound very easy there, Manu. Just remind us again. Pavan's asking VMOC. What's VMOC again?
So VMOC is basically our CV or resume corrector kind of software. So what it basically does is that you upload your resume into that, and so Cranfield has basically set us a kind of a standard criteria of how does your CV should look like, what are the keywords should it contain. So it is basically tuned according to that, and it gives your CV a score. As soon as you upload your CV into it, it gives you a basic score and suggests you the areas where you need to make improvements, and it's a pretty detailed feedback. My suggestion again would be is to use the XYZ rule of resume writing, which is by Google. It's really followed here in the UK. So yeah, just look up to Google and try to make your CV according to that, and VMOC would really help you to fine tune that.
Brilliant, thank you. Question, I think, Hendrik, this is for you. This is from Alice. Does Cranfield provide computers for students, or is everyone expected to bring a laptop with them?
Generally, people bring their own laptops. So we do not provide computers for daily use. We do have computer labs that we may be utilizing for certain activities, of course, where we have sort of stationary computers.
Right, so bring your own.
And there are computers available in the library, you know, sort of that are like hot desks essentially, but they're not your personal machine.
So you have access to them, but you're not given one.
Yes, you can work there on an assignment or you know, something else. You can run simulations there if you like. Also during the thesis project, you know, you may want access to certain software and so on within the Cranfield network that you can do. But most of these softwares you can also install on your personal machine through our IT services.
Brilliant. And we've got a few seconds remaining. Access to the course materials is what, from day one, or can we see some of that in the months before? You've got to wait, I guess, until you're here.
Well, it's quite important actually. So from here on, because we are talking about people with an offer, right? So be quite careful that you keep up with your emails from the admissions office in particular, from the registration, right? That you are attentive to any messages that they give you, because there's a few opportunities. You can join, for example, a student network ahead of the actual starting time at Cranfield. So you can already communicate with maybe the fellow students in your cohort. So that's an important one. Then of course you don't want to miss any deadlines that registration or that admissions tells you, any visa deadlines, anything like that, right? So pay close attention to that. Sorry, what was the rest of the question?
Too late because we have run out of time, unfortunately. But I guess I was going to ask you, what should people be doing now? But I guess
those are the key
getting ready
things.
in the few seconds that we have remaining.
Those are the key things, you know, of course, stick with check your emails, check that you don't miss any communication, prepare yourself. And in terms of actual preparation, I would not say, you know, buy 100 operations or supply chain management books and read them all. We take care of that here. What you should be doing is have a keen interest on what's currently happening in the world, in your own country, in other parts of the world, in the wider domain of supply chain management. Read up on these things, inform yourself of what industry is currently doing, the practical aspects, and bring those ideas, questions, interests into the classroom here at Cranfield so that you can discuss them with us.
Fantastic.
That's my recommendation.
We have to close it. And Doreen, we didn't get to your scholarship question, so please get in touch with Cranfield. I think you know how to do that now, and we'll hopefully answer that. Nippon, it's been fantastic talking to you, so thank you. Good luck with the dissertation. Manu, you're an inspiration.
Yep.
It's just great to hear, so we may come back to you in the next few years. Lorenzo, thank you very much indeed for the insights that you've given us on the program. Really appreciated that. Thank you very much. It was always a joy talking to you.
Thank you, and thank you, Toby.
That's all thank yous. I got a few more thank yous. Studio managers today were Robin Hackett, Marco Gomez, and Chris Ripley. The producers were Tammy Archer-Peters. My name is Toby Thompson. Thank you for watching.